Hey guys! So today you and I are going to talk about wisdom. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, hi Frederick, how does one acquire this deep wisdom that you refer to? Is it just thinking a lot about the problem plus reading about them while solving issues in the job? So for a little bit of context, basically this is posted on a video where I'm assuming now that I made a reference to what I call truly understanding the problem, or how really good software developers, I argue, like the thing that distinguishes them usually from other people, or it doesn't have to be software developers. I would go as far as to say it to distinguish really effective people from less effective people, and that is that they possess this uncanny wisdom, as I call it. Like, and it is in essence what I'm saying when I say they truly understand the problem that they are solving. And what that basically means is that, as an example, if you have a system that is like a classic one now, like if you talk to an average software developer about how to fix their legacy code, 99% of them will say, well, we're going to have to do some refactors, we're going to have to do A, and we're going to have to do B, and we're going to have to refactor, and like write tests, and like all of this sort of stuff, right? But a truly, I argue, wise software developer or person will know that, yes, it is true that all those things are useful, but they will also fundamentally ask the question, why is it not happening already, and why is it that this didn't happen like from the get-go, and the people who are actually in charge of this project, or like who are supposed to be doing this, will adding tests actually solve the fundamental problem? Because the fundamental problem isn't that you don't have tests. The fundamental problem is that the code is not in a state where you want it to be. And there are more than one, there's a lot of ways why things happen that specific way. A classic one that I actually, when I counter people who say this thing, like we need to refactor all this stuff, and I go, okay, I go through all their code reviews and I go say, okay, but why are you not writing in tests? Why are you not Boy Scouting? Why are you not doing A, B, and C? And then you fundamentally come to the conclusion that the problem isn't that you are not allowed to fix it, or like a classic one is that the developers always say the same thing. Oh, we don't get any stories. We don't ever go do A, B, and C. And I gotta go, why do you need a story to do something that management, in this case, this is where what usually happens, which is expected of you? That's an example of someone like truly understanding that the issue isn't that there is no tests and like the code has just magically become ugly and therefore it has to be refactored. The problem is that the way that the teams or the software developers are working is causing the situation. So by just saying we're going to add some refactors and so forth doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be in a better state. You will still have the same people with the same fundamental personal issues and ways of working and so forth create just the same situation again. It's similar to being overweight. So a person who says, oh, I'm so overweight because I don't have any time to spend at the gym. Any personal trainer will be able to say that, yeah, that's not probably the problem. The problem is that you lack the necessary motivation, call it whatever you want. You are not investing in the way that you should be investing, because time is something that you can make any excuse you want, but certain like that's I hope that is the like you see my reasoning here. And so to achieve this understanding, this wisdom as I call it, like this true like the insight to see things for what they are rather than just sort of making, well, deducing, I'm not saying deducing the wrong thing, but to get a little bit of depth in the way that you look at problems and how to solve them and so forth. What I usually argue for is that you should try to solve the same problem in many different ways, and then observe what works with each approach and what trade-offs you're going to have to make. The reason why I say this is because at least this is how I usually work. So when I try to learn something, I try to just have a lot of different teachers. I will watch videos or read books or like whatever I might be doing in order to learn a subject. It's the same topic. It's just various people who have try to teach it, because by looking at all the different ways that people figure out how to solve a computer problem or a whatever it might be, right, I start to learn their different nuances of how to solve the problem, and by seeing all those patterns of how to solve the same problem, I start being able to see, as I said, the pattern. Like I can derive the essence of the problem, like the essence that they are all solving, the thing that is truly the same for all of them, and then I can see different approaches to solving the various issues, so that when the nuances change, well, then I can adapt to it, because I know a range of various ways of solving the same issue, and with a bit of personal reflection and things like that, I can start figuring out, okay, so they went with that approach in this scenario because it's pretty much the same problem as this other situation, but there are a few details that differ here, which makes this more reasonable, or like a better approach, or so forth. And what I argue is, at least when I talk to software developers, the software developers who are the best, as I said, they usually know a few ways of solving the same issue, but they're also able to order in in terms of relevancy what they would try first, or how they would go about it, because as I said, it's not unique per se that people know more than one way of solving something, but the thing that makes someone like that, where you can really hear if they have good reasoning skills, is in in what order do you do things. Like, why is one approach better than the other? They can reason about various solutions to the same problem, because if they can do that, as I said, they have a more wide perspective than just, the classic one is every problem is a nail if all you have is a hammer. But if you have a range of tools at your disposal, like you have you're better equipped to reason about how to go about solving whatever issue you have. But you also have to know, based on experience, or based on, well, rational thinking, reasoning, intelligence, logic, all of these sort of things, in what order should you try to apply things, which one of all these different ways that seems to be the most applicable for a given situation. So what I want you to take away from this is very simple. What I argue is that if you want to earn true wisdom, or get deep wisdom, as the subscriber was mentioning, or as I probably mentioned in this video, I argue that you should try solving the same problem in various ways. Practice your skills. So for me, to give you a concrete example, if you don't really know how to write clean code, or like how to do that, well, read a few books, try it yourself, try to try to structure things, try to see, like, okay, so first I'm trying this thing and it sort of worked, these things worked, and then I try these things and those things worked, but this thing here didn't work so much. Like, iteration, guys. Like, I'm a big fan of saying that instead of trying to always go for the big gigantic super project that is supposed to be the next big thing, or like to do these very, very big investments, do smaller things. So what I like to do is that whatever it is, I just make a lot of projects, where like I get an idea and kind of go, oh yeah, it would, like in my old days, like for example, I want to make a console application. It's gonna do some arbitrary thing, like I get inspired for the moment. It's a little tiny little bit like a sketch artist or something like that. They have a pen and paper with them, and they might sit down at a cafe at a random place and just sketch something in their environment. Not because they're gonna sell it or make it like a piece of a masterpiece or anything like that. They just got inspired for the moment, sketched a little bit, trained their skills on sketching something that is in that environment, and then they might throw it away, they might keep it, and then they just take another sheet of paper, sketch something else. Exactly like that. That's just repetition over and over and over with various types of problems, or various things, will give you more than trying to just build one gigantic super project. Because as I said, it's about pattern recognition and practicing your skills. It's the same thing martial arts or like anybody who's doing sports or so forth do. You just keep on repeating, iterate, and if you can scope it so that when you are making one of these projects, it's sort of focused on just trying to figure out some arbitrary thing. I mean, for all a classical, I just give you this example. If you feel uncertain about version control, like Git, which most people do, it's can be a very advanced tool. Then just sit and commit stuff. Try out various commands until you understand one command or two commands, and then you kind of go, oh, okay, I sort of understand how to do this thing now, and then you go and do something else, and then you do the same thing there. Just try out a few tags in HTML or CSS. It doesn't matter what it is, right? You don't have to make big things. The main thing is that you are observing what works with whatever you're doing. Whatever you're learning about, make it just a small little nothing project where you can play around with something. You get your hands dirty with stuff, and just repeat over and over and over, and look at various ways that people are doing the same thing, and learn from each method, so you can derive the essence of why for various approaches work. Have a great day.